Just answering questions with WapTech. How do you determine which of your videos will be put on one of the two channels? The channels and videos are usually directly tied to each other. If someone asks me a question on a channel, I tend to post it to that channel as a response if I'm doing a response video. Sometimes I post videos on a channel that's had the least number of uploads in the last week. Sometimes I post it because that's the only channel I'm allowed to post to, or YouTube is messing with me on a channel I don't feel comfortable. I also just dither it back and forth if it's something I want to do, mostly because that spreads out the possibility of getting flagged for something erroneous, which is all I ever get flagged for. Delphi Indiana press conference. Trolling the murderer, or murderers, ending up trolling the public. We'll be getting to that. But up first, someone who's decided a specific person by a specific name needs to be demonized and witch-hunted. It may be something or maybe nothing. You decide. And then won't drop it. Or not. How many people with this person's name are in Indiana? There's a lot more to this person than what you realize, WapTech. And here are the claims. This person worked at Google and did 3 interviews and a podcast and made cryptic Twitter posts and was given a polygraph test and was questioned by the police and released, and they're keeping an eye on him. Or maybe these are multiple different people, or you're not given all the information on the podcasts, the interviews, Reddit. Nobody ever uses a fake name on Twitter. No one ever uses a fake name on Google. Everybody wearing a Google hat must be working for Google. Everybody claiming to work at Google has to be working at Google. Nobody ever lies on the internet. I'm a gerbil. Polygraphs don't show that you've lied or not. They're a way of clearing people more often than convicting them. Convicting someone on a polygraph is almost worthless. It usually gets overturned. Clearing someone on a polygraph is actually more reliable by a small amount. If they released him after questioning him and giving him a polygraph, probably not guilty. Next, why are you on about this person? It's a person who uploaded an image to Google Street View as a Google Sphere using one of those 360 cameras standing on the Monon High Bridge with a particular name. First and last name. Well, how many are in the area of Indiana? Depending on what year, 2, none, or 20. I didn't bring that up because why the hell would I? You're going to ignore it, some of you. Others are going to show up and get this answer in this video. How many people are in that name currently? In Indiana, 2 people. During, before, and after by 1 year time range for the murders in Indiana, there's 8 that I found. Depending on what website you go to, you'll find less or more. Most of those recordings on the net are based on people who live in a state where they're required to give up all their information and it's public data, or it's information that's been stolen, or hijacked, or leaked. And you can type in your own name and see how fucked up, not accurate it is. And most of them won't let you use your full legal name with middle name or even initial because that would narrow it down. They want to show lots of results. The person on Twitter could have been a different person. The person on Google could have been a different person. Unless you give me all the information to confirm this or deny it, you're avoiding having me critique it. Everyone on Reddit I looked up that was asked the same questions I'm asking went ahead and just banned the person. This is a dead link. Bridge Guy video. Bridge Guy audio. And a press conference where the police trolled people. Raise your hand and put your left hand on a Bible or the other way around, depending on which end of Satan's tail you're hanging onto, or in my case, a physics book or a book on logic. You've never been in a noisy environment where you mistook someone's statements for another statement. You've never misheard any lyrics. You have impeccable audio. I have good hearing. I have damaged hearing. Therefore, I'm better than everybody because I assume I'm going to get it wrong and double check my work by looking for multiple sources. But some of you were trolled by the police department in Delphi. the original archived binary copied, not multiple generation version of the recording down the hill, Delphi male voice loop. It's called either 4 or 3 times a person saying down the hill, and there's noise in it. It's really ambiguous what the fuck is going on in it. 2017, February 22nd is the first mention of where to get it that I could easily find. There's earlier ones, slightly, of them uploading this audio recording onto the website and providing a link. Someone archived it about the same time. Next, they did a press conference where they played back this recording in a room through speakers with the wrong impedance matching for the feed-in for the amplifier, aiming the speaker at an odd angle. You can look and see that it's not right angle for that camera, to multiple cameras held by reporters, and in some cases cell phones. Those recordings, with all those layers of bullshit added in, you can get rid of just by listening to the raw recording. Those videos were uploaded on Facebook, their websites for their news channels, and on YouTube channels. People then downloaded them and re-uploaded them on YouTube and on these other websites, which always re-encodes them. And someone pointed me to a video where the first part of the recording, the first part of the conference, is muted for no good reason, apparently, which means it's an altered recording, period, full stop. And then the longer version that's unaltered, quote unquote, is still a multi-generational copy done through how many layers? And remember, there's more than one set of cameras or microphones in the room recording it. Not all of them have the same noisy, easily misinterpreted audio. Some of the newscasters overlaid the actual recording they were playing they said you should go download instead. Why would the police department create a room and an electrical system and an amplifier biasing problem that would cause distortions in an audio recording that would make it to where you would interpret words into it? Meanwhile, it's on YouTube and Google and whatever. If it's anything other than a raw format, like WAV is pretty close to raw, it's going to do what's called psychoacoustic compression. Psychoacoustics means it makes 2 versions of the recording and then mixes them back together. One emphasizes voice, which means tss turns into sh or ch or k. It always alters the noise. That sound, like saying the word bitch, the ch will be distorted. You'll hear the hi-hats or cymbals in a drum kit waver. That's distortion. The psychoacoustics for voice doesn't get distorted as much. But if it gets ordinary noise in, it'll make it sound like one of many consonants, vowels, or glottal stops, so it sounds like voice. The other band will be done for music, which is excluding the audio here by refeeding it in and reprocessing it. Fraunhofer compression. It's actually got a different name, but I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get flagged for saying their name. That original audio recording, binary copied, that's in WAV format, which was probably how they retrieved it originally. It was originally probably an MP3 anyway, but it's a raw file, is what I analyzed. And I showed that recording has 3 replays of the audio with a tick in the middle because they did a poor job linking them together. And I also mentioned right before the first copy of it, you can hear right at it before the tick part of the previous 4th repeat. Or you can listen to an altered re-upload of a recompressed news camera microphone recording of speakers in a room playing back a distorted, because of impedance matching, recording during a police press conference that was deliberately creating pareidolia so you'd read into it and try to really dig into it to get people's interest. You'll notice in the news conference that the police are patting themselves on the back, which would infuriate certain types of people that don't like cops. They were trolling the murderer or murderers, trying to get them to respond with anger and frustration, trying to get a reaction out of them. Most people have figured that out pretty much because it was very out of character for everybody on stage. All of them are very, very uncomfortable with what they're doing because they're doing up an act to fuck with whoever's watching, trying to get them to say, "You think I said one thing or another. I actually said such and such. Thank you for telling us it was you." Every one of you that tried to correct the cops basically gummed up the works, but they tried to go through all of you to try to figure out if any of you are the killer. Meanwhile, the bridge guy video and the audio recording may not be the person who did it, again for the umpteenth fucking time. Well, it's a person of interest. It was a person who was there. It might have been a witness or the murderer. And again, now we're handed a sketch that doesn't look anything like the guy on the bridge, and the original sketch does. And people make assumptions about all sorts of stuff. Again, you've never been in a room with noise in it and made a mistake about what someone said. Never happened. You've never mistakenly heard my Bologna instead of my Sharona. The first release of Bridge Guy voice recording Delphi Police Conference, I hear not get down the hill or down the hill. I hear bitch get down the hill. Who changed it and why? No one changed it. And they were trolling everybody by deliberately running it through, I think, possibly the most distortion-inducing Jimi Hendrix level of shit you could do in an open-air environment. Next, you can find other versions of this from the other newscasts that actually have the audio sounding different. That means you can't rely on it. Meanwhile, I provide a link to the archive.org, and the person says, I can't get that one. It says copyright or something. And the second link I gave the person, well, that's the one that's been heavily altered that had guys added in. I know that. And the person goes on about how this being, it makes them look really guilty and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. My interpretation of this is that they're fucking with whoever's watching, trying to get them to come out of the woodwork by correcting them. Oh, you think it says that, but it really says XYZ. Well, how would you know that unless you were the one who said it? That almost sounds like the police are being clever by acting stupid. Think about it. What other reason would they have for not releasing the entire recording? They've stated that they're keeping some stuff back to get it to where they can positively identify who did it. That means there's no evidence at the scene to tie it to anyone specifically, and not enough evidence that would tie it to anyone out of a group of people if you could find everybody who had the same characteristics. If you can't narrow it down to below 100 people, you can't. And that's what they found. They found stuff at the scene, evidence or whatever, that wouldn't narrow it down below 100 people out of everybody in the area. They know they can't do it. So their only choice at this point is to go fuck with the head of the person who did this, who's already fucked in the head. And they ended up inadvertently trolling everybody. Now, I've never actually thought this, but today I have. If you watch the conference, every one of them is acting in a way that is absolutely not normal. Did it occur to anybody that they were doing this to play up the subject matter to get an angry response out of someone correcting them because they know the details because they're the guilty party? Meanwhile, I have someone here who's stuck on the word that they think they hear in a recording. And yes, there are other people who uploaded the same conference. And some of them, during that part where you think it says, bitch, get, and then down the hill, you can hear someone in the background clearing their throat. You can also hear another person exhaling because they're waiting for the recording to start where it says, down the hill. Nobody altered it except the persons in the room breathing too heavy or clearing their throat, or just the room with all the bad acoustics and the police department, seemingly on purpose, making a shitty recording. The first reaction I had is the same one a lot of people had. What the hell is that? I can't hear anything. Meanwhile, people who typed what they told them to type on screen, they outed themselves as someone being interested in listening to the recording. It occurred to me that maybe this is tactical, and then I started thinking about it. You can see other recordings of these people before this happened when they weren't playing anything up for the camera. The one main guy does this stuff a lot, but the others aren't. I'm very sure at this point they were trolling specifically the public, accidentally, and the bad guys on purpose, and it failed. And now they're stuck. Also, I should point out, yes, they altered the original recording, but it has all the signs of being the raw recording, most likely. Still don't know. Conclusion. That is an altered, re-uploaded, recompressed news camera microphone recording of speakers in the room playing back a distorted recording during a police press conference where they're trolling people versus the audio recording they put up that didn't change for several years until they finally deleted it because they preferred the version that was easier to hear. So anyway, links below in the description will also include drive.google.com versions of the recordings I have, including the one I altered by just changing the volume level so it's easier to hear, hopefully. And again, please stop using YouTube. It psychoacoustically emphasizes voice, and you'll hear all sorts of things, like your mama. Thanks for watching. Good day. Good luck with that. Bye.